So I want to briefly talk about the Oprah Winfrey show with the estranged parents. And I'm not going to cover it in specifics right now. I'm more covering it as something for those of us who are estranged adult daughters, adult sons, estranged offspring, to talk about a little bit and unpack a little bit. I watched half of it last night and the other half this morning. I kind of felt the need to do it in doses, and I felt that there was so much missing, and I'm angry. I'm ticked off at how the estranged parents really weren't questioned, and the estranged adult sons and daughters, offspring, were. What led to the estrangement? How do you feel? So you've talked to nobody. You haven't talked to anyone in your family. And there was a much more in-depth, and I think part of it, in-depth questioning there, not necessarily interrogation. I didn't feel that way about it. And as I'm unpacking it, I think part of that is because that they're going to answer. You know what I mean? And that they're not going to hijack into a hissy. However, that shouldn't be how you decide you're going to question a particular situation or even give an opinion about it. And what I found, it's Oprah's show, so the buck stops with her, in my opinion, is that she's asking questions, and she was asking good questions. And I think that it was mostly sensitive and well done in the way that it was done. When the estranged parents talked, though, she was all kid gloves. So one of them was saying, and Oprah even hid behind one of the author's books to bring something up to this estranged parent who I've featured before. In fact, I featured the video of her that was on the Oprah show. So that one I'll link back in my platform here. But she was so kid glove. And so this parent said, I didn't see it coming, and blah, 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 the whole thing. And I'm not saying she didn't see it coming. I believe that. However, I do think she probably should have seen it coming. She's saying, my sons think I'm great, right? Nobody really jumped on that so much. There was a little commentary around that, but not very much. She stated, everything was great. We went on vacation. We got family tattoos. It was all wonderful. So she's laying the groundwork of how wonderful everything is. And one disagreement, and it was really minor. And the only thing Oprah could say behind that was something to the effect of, I think it was Oprah, it might have been somebody else, by quoting the book and whatever, what you think is minor may not have been minor to your daughter. And this parent was having none of it. She really wasn't. She was trying to soften her stance because she's aware that she's in a situation where she can't be herself like she is on her platform. She can't be as venomous as she wants to be. So she's sugarcoating, because the way she was communicating on the Oprah show is quite different than the way she represents herself on her platform. The other thing she goes on to say is, she just doesn't have conflict resolution skills. And she frames it like, my daughter's wonderful. I'm not saying she's a bad person or anything like that. She has and she was like, because she wanted to say she's inept or has a deficit or something like that. And then what she found her words to go, she's obviously she thought about this before the show and how she was going to appear. And she probably got a little coaching from someone, which good on her for doing that. I'm not saying the coaching is a bad thing. Being on something like that can be unnerving, and it's probably good to get some coaching. However, you shouldn't get coaching to abandon who you are or to be inauthentic or, that sort of thing. And nobody said to her, well, if your daughter doesn't have conflict resolution skills, is that because, how was conflict resolved when she was growing up? Like, where did that come from? Nobody, and it happened more than once in this situation, nobody was questioning. This individual, well, she's a piece of work. And I feel like the Oprah show really cherry picked what they showed of her, because she really bashes adult estranged offspring. We'll just stay with that. She bashes us. She really, really does, because she chose to go no contact with her son 2 years ago. I have more of the backstory now, because for 15 years he had been abusing her. And nobody was asking her, well, where did this start? How did it start? Nobody was asking detailed questions of that. Nobody. She's going, they look at the adult offspring I'm using offspring. She was saying children, obviously. As being heroes, that they're doing something noble and all these things. And they look at us like we're the terrible people. And why is it that way? And that was her question. Like, why do they vilify us and not them, kind of thing? Why can't it be that we decide to walk away because our kid is toxic? She didn't say it that way, but that was kind of the theme behind it. And well, maybe the reason why is because children don't raise you. You raise your children. And so who they become and what your relationship looks like doesn't fall at our feet. It falls at the feet of the parents. I am a parent to adults. It doesn't fall to their feet. It falls to mine. I formed the relationship. And nobody actually said that. Nobody expanded on that. So I'm pissed off, because I feel like this was to expose a trend which is so damaging. It talked about there were some really good topics discussed, but there was so much that was minimized and invalidated in talking about where these relationships are formed and where they actually break down. It was almost like they were making the adult offspring equal in responsibility in many ways to the estranged parent, to the parent. And that's just simply not true, just because of the fact that there's a power dynamic at play. And again, there were some really positive things in there. I am going to cover it more in depth. I kind of need a little break from it, a little energy. I need to gain a little energy about it, because I want to do it really more point by point. I know a lot of you out there are going to be watching it, so I would love for you to comment in how you feel. Let me know what I missed. Ask questions in the comment section, because that'll help me when I'm creating the breakdown that I do of the show. I have on the back of my brain to do the one with Dr. Phil, so I think I kind of need to devote a whole day to just locking in on these, because these shows are an hour long as opposed to taking small snippets, right? So it takes me a whole lot more time to put into that type of content. So I plan on doing that in the next week or so. It would really help me a lot if you comment in and give me what your questions are around that, to let me know what you would be looking for, in just how you felt about it even. And so I also really wanted to make this video just to validate everybody out there from the invalidation, mark ourselves safe from what happened on that show. We aren't estranging because of a single conflict, or because we didn't try to tell our parent how we felt. It's hard to tell somebody how we feel and what we need when they refuse to listen. And it's hard to have to do it over and over again and be expected to continue to do it to bring about conflict resolution when we have parents that have no interest in that. And whatever the reasons why, at some point become irrelevant. So I really want to validate for everybody out there that there was a huge element from this show missing, and I see you and I feel you and I am you. Not in the single white female sort of way, the movie. I get how a lot of us might have walked away from that feeling, unseen and invalidated and be left with feelings to process after that. So it should probably have a TW wording on it as well. I personally am angry about it at this point in time, and I'm going to go process those emotions over a glass of Prosecco. So there's that. I'm here in Italy at the moment. Well, more than at the moment. I've been living in Europe for the last couple of years on and off. So I'm going to go get myself a Prosecco. And if also you are looking for journal prompts and more healing and more personalized videos based on what you need in terms of I'll respond in video kind of thing, hit the join button on this video or on any of my videos, and you can find out what's available to you in the join section. And if not, I'll see you here. Regardless, thank you so much for being here. I hope everybody stays well, and thank you for being with me on my healing journey. I know that you're healing as well. We're all healing together. This is our group therapy, right? All right. I'll see you soon. Thanks so much.